Hello and welcome back to the No Dig Norfolk Gardener. Now in today's video I'd like to talk to you about succession gardening. Now in these days of rising food prices here in the UK, I think it's really important that we can get the most from the ground we have to grow things as possible, and grow things all the way through the year so that we have fresh vegetables to eat. And up until last year, that was never really an option for us. We did a dig versus no dig video a couple of videos back, and this is the actual bed here. Before we went to no dig, what would tend to happen is we'd get to sort of June and July, although our ground grows really lovely crops, it would be so hard. We simply, when we tried to plant something, it was difficult to get the plants into the ground, but then to water them through the summer, to see them through until we get the autumn rains, that water would just simply run off, wasn't going anywhere because the soil would be baked hard. And of course, now that we've moved over to no dig, for the first time last year we were able to grow crops and bring them onto a harvest for the beginning of this year. And it's something that I want to try and do more of, is to have things like cabbages and cauliflowers that will be ready during this period of time when we're in what's known as the hungry gap. So, if you're new to gardening, what is succession planting? So here we are in the legume bed, and you can see we've got broad beans growing away here, the peas, they're growing away nicely. Now, if you look at the broad beans here on the plant, it's not going to be long before these are going to be ready to harvest. So I anticipate sometime towards the end of May, we'll already begin our harvest of broad beans. And if you're a follower of our channel, you'll know that these went in last December. And the beauty about getting them in either November or December is that you bring the harvest forward so that sometime in June this will all be gone. So any time from now I'm going to be sowing some purple sprouting broccoli seed, because that's what's going to follow this crop. Once this comes out of the ground, it's where it's going to go. So then 4 to 5 weeks time, those plants are then big enough to go straight into the ground. And of course, being no dig, once we pull these out, it can all be done within a matter of an hour. Clear these, just give the soil a bit of, or the compost a bit of a rake level, and then we can pop those plants straight in. With the peas, they'll probably finish their harvest sometime toward the end of June. And again, in this bed, all this bed will become brassica. So there could be things like cabbage or cauliflower or swede that will then fill this bed. And all of those lovely vegetables will become ready for harvest either towards the back end of this year, depending on which variety I put in here, or they're going to come ready sometime in February, March, April or May. Now, if you've been gardening like ourselves for a while, I have a plan. At the beginning of every year, I decide what's going to go where within the crop rotation, and then I think, right, when will that come to harvest? And that's when I need to sow the seed for the succession crop, the crop that's going to follow whatever was in the ground. So in this bed we have our main crop potatoes. Now they will be here probably until mid to late August, I guess. I haven't actually grown Maris Piper before, but we'll see. It makes no difference. Whenever they come ready to harvest, in here I can then start to consider things like winter greens, which I won't sow until August anyway, and then they can then go in the ground. I can put some pak choy in here, Chinese cabbage, things that will harvest pretty quickly for us to be able to eat. So most of the vegetables that one grows, they are known as half-yearly crops. So for things like these potatoes, they went in mid-March. They'll be ready to harvest sometime in July. It's a variety called Charlotte. They store well, so they won't occupy the ground. Once they're to a harvestable size, we'll have those up and they'll go straight into potato bags. The peas we were talking about, they were sown in March. They'll have finished their harvest sometime towards the end of June. So you can see that that's what a half-yearly crop is. If we don't put anything else in the ground, once they've finished harvesting, that's it. We get nothing else from that ground. It affords us the opportunity to then grow something else and get a harvest at a different time of year. And if you look at the seed catalogues or online, wherever you source your seeds, you know, if you pull up something like, let's say for argument's sake, cauliflower. Now, cauliflowers can virtually be harvested nearly all year round, providing you select the correct varieties, sow them at the right time and put them in the ground. Once these peas and the broad beans are finished, as I say, there's going to be brassicas grown in there, and towards the end of this month I shall start to sow the cabbages and the cauliflowers that I want to overwinter, and in there they will go. And because of the varieties I've selected, some will harvest in November and December, some will harvest January, February, and some will harvest March and April. So it's worth doing a bit of research from wherever you get your seeds from. And like I say, with most vegetables that you grow, there are certain varieties that you can get to harvest at the time of year when you want them. This is the onion bed, and where I'm standing now, we had some spinach, you may recall, and usually the spinach is here usually until the end of May, but I think we've been quite mild just lately and I've decided to rise to flower. So I twisted those out, and the plan is for this strip of ground now is for leeks and celeriac to go in. Now the leeks actually won't be ready for us to put into the ground until June. They have germinated, they're on the way, they're growing away, but they won't actually go in here until June. The garlic you see here, well, this will be ready for harvest sometime in June, probably towards the end of June, but it will be sometime in June, and this will then become free. And succeeding this could be beetroot, turnip, anything like that that you can put into the ground, and that will give you lovely, valuable vegetables during the autumn and winter period when you want them. So there are many possibilities as to, what you can harvest. The shallots, which are coming on really nicely, again, because we put ours in the ground in October, they're going to start to come ready for harvest in June. And pretty much like the garlic, probably towards the end of June. The leaves will start to fall over, they'll go brown, and then we can harvest them and get them into storage so that we've got that food to eat all the way through the rest of this year. And then this strip of land, as I say, is then available for us to put in things that we want. So it's really worth, at the beginning of the year, thinking what can I grow, when do I want to harvest it, and for that succession crop, when do I need to sow it to get it into the ground so that it harvests at the time that we want. So a bit of planning is needed. Do let us know in the comments below what you do in regards of succession planting and the sort of things you're growing. You'll see a bit later as we go on to sow the varieties. We'll let you know the varieties that we're going to be sowing and what we're going to be trying. But do let us know what you're going to be doing and what your plans are for your plot. And of course, if you are new to gardening and you want to see what we do, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We would love you to subscribe to our channel and you can see exactly how we're getting on, and later on in the year I'll tell you what my plans are and how I go about planning what's going to go in each bed, when we're going to sow it and how we're going to do it. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. The days are definitely warming up now, and of course the lengthening daylight means all of the plants are coming on really, really strongly. We shall see you in the next video.